Okay, I'm going to show you how to use a staff. First thing I'm going to tell you is you want these. Some type of glove. Reason for that? These give splinters. And you're going to be doing this a lot. When you're twirling, when you're switching hands, when you're moving it up, down, all over on the stick. So, it's important that you wear something because otherwise you're going to hate your hands afterwards. This is a short staff. What that means is, this is a staff that does not reach my height. Now luckily I'm a short person, so this is the ideal weapon for me. The reason it's a short staff and not a regular staff is because a regular one reaches my height, if not a little bit higher, usually only by 6 inches at the most. Otherwise, then you got an entirely different category weapon and you can't use it like you're going to use this. Ideally, your weapon, you want it to be balanced, meaning both sides are the same width, they're the same weight, and they're just as strong either way. This makes it ideal so you don't favor one side. However, if you're like me and you can't come across such a weapon, or your weapon broke, you can use something that is weighted on one side. And if you can get used to it, you can use it just like you should. Doesn't matter which way you're holding it. And either way, it'll work out just fine. Now, when using a staff, it's important to note that you're not fencing, which a lot of people do. You do not want to hold your weapon like this, because the biggest danger with this type of weapon is hitting yourself in the head. Constantly, if you're fighting anyone, your weapon will be knocked around, hit around, knocked all over, etc., etc. This is where it's important to have upper body strength. So you don't need it as much as the heavier stuff, and you don't need it as much as if you're fighting with your fists. But it's important to be able to control your weapon and to even land the blows of your opponent. When they are swinging at you, you need to decide where they're going to hit. If there is someone coming at me dead on, I'm going to want to block to make sure they hit the center. So that way I have enough force stopping this from hitting me in the face, the chest, the crotch, the knees. However, if I'm down this low, I should probably just jump or step back. When attacking with this weapon, it's important to note that you use your whole body. You don't use just your arms, just your legs, knees, anything. Use everything. When you swing forward, I hope this will catch you on the sideways view. If I'm swinging forward with my left arm, my left leg needs to come forward. Doesn't matter if it's vertical, doesn't matter if it's horizontal, doesn't matter if it's diagonal. Either way, left, left, forward. The reason you do this, I'll do it onto the camera so you can see better, is right now, unlike a sword, an épée, anything like that in fencing or any type of sword fighting, you don't stand with your body sideways. You always stand like this, again, so you don't get hit by your own weapon. You can block all shots efficiently. What you do when you attack, if you can't see, is my body's sideways now. This makes it harder for my opponent to counter me, and the only way they're going to counter me successfully is with a horizontal swing. As you can imagine, if I'm stretched out like this, it's very easy to bring my weapon up and block myself appropriately. Same thing with the right. If you do it right, you'll hear a little crack. That's because I broke my weapon. But more importantly, your body's sideways. Let's do attack here. You'll see it. Your body's sideways. If you attack, I'll show you what happens if you attack right to left. If I go left, right, first off, I'm not getting my entire body forward because this part of my body is up front. And then when I do this, I might as well just stand up and face you as I am and make me an easy target, which we don't want to do that. Now, the kinds of swings with a short staff or even a staff vary greatly. Anything from basic horizontal, a basic vertical, diagonal, 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 and that's basically it. It's eight directions when you look at it, 8 starting points. So you can almost imagine a box in front of you, top, bottom, left, right, diagonal, 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 diagonal. You never want to start horizontal or start vertical and go horizontal, just like you don't want to start horizontal and go vertical. You might want to swing up though, which is perfectly fine. Second of all, with the staff, You normally don't want to swing with just one hand unless you know your opponent is completely unarmed or off balance, or if they're not using a weapon, in which case then you totally have them. Normally, you want to attack with both hands firmly on the weapon, so that way, when you crash into their weapon, you can try this on your own, is if you have a tree or something, even as you can imagine, my weapon bounces. There's almost no force behind it when you swing with one hand. So when you hit their weapon, you're just going to bounce off. If there was a weapon, something here I could hit, you'll bounce off and leave yourself very vulnerable. You don't want to do that for obvious reasons. The other reason why I personally like the staff, why other people too, is it's not the type of weapon where you're just going to stand there. You're not going to rely on your defense. You're not going to rely on your offense. You're going to rely on your speed, your defense, and your offense. The reason for this is because if you want to successfully conquer any opponent, you're going to be able to need to jump, duck, back away, sidestep, any direction, doesn't matter what. You have to be able to do that with a staff. So if you're not someone who's athletic and you're more of the power sort, I would not recommend this to you whatsoever. If you're someone who is very, very speedy, but someone who has absolutely no upper body strength, then I wouldn't recommend this either. There are different weapons I'd recommend for those people, which I won't go into. If you're a more balanced person with a bit more agility than anything else, this is the weapon for you. You can move around, you can fight powerfully when you need to, but more importantly, this is my favorite weapon because it's so tricky. Unlike every other weapon, which either has more defense than offense or more offense than defense, this is a counter weapon. This is the most beautiful weapon to counter because you have two hands. When you block, you can do more than block. You can block, push off, and swing. That's an example where you'd use one hand because your opponent is entirely, if they're doing a vertical and you were blocking as such, push them away, nail them in the stomach, chest, wherever. That's an easy hit. They swing horizontally, again, like this, push away like this, do it like this, push away like that. And either way, you're left with a perfect shot, which is one of the reasons why I love this weapon, because there's so many tricks. If you're extremely athletic, what you can actually do is start doing stuff like blocking and tripping, which is one of my favorites. The other thing is there's so many feints and parries with this, it's unbelievable. One of my favorites is doing that. What you do, I'm hoping that you can see it with the camera right there, but when you do this, looks like you're going to do this. Looks like you're going to go like this. It looks like you're coming in for a strike. But instead, if you keep the weapon close to you, you get a very nice swing, and if you spin on the spot, you only increase the power. And because you're holding on with both hands, you get even more strength with it. This is how you hit someone really nice in the shin and put them on the ground. One of my favorite moves. Another nice little thing you can do, though it's risky, I would say, if you know your opponent well and you know they're doing the same thing, you twirl the weapon right around your arm like this. When you do that, you put yourself entirely out there to be struck, beaten, whatever. Usually when people do this, if they do something, bugs, they do a vertical swing coming down like this, you're able to catch it with your hand. For those of you who don't know, I don't think I'm going to be able to show you too well either. When you catch it with your hand, the weapon should land flatly in your hand like this. If it lands in your hand like this, you are not putting pressure against your wrist. You're not putting any pressure on your fingers because your fingers should be wide open, ready to accept. You give a little, and then after you give and you're holding their weapon, this is why I need my brother here. Assuming someone swung at me, they gave, and I have their weapon, this leaves for a great swing. That you can aim low, that you can aim mid, or if you're actually in a real serious situation where you are actually being attacked or something, and for whatever reason you just happen to have this along with you, the only reason I ever would is because when I take a walk around my neighborhood, I keep it just in case. You can also hit the head. However, You better be in some serious danger, because if you do that, then you're in big trouble. For the staff, that's all I'm going to do, because that's just basics and such. If I want to show you anything real, live combat, anything like that, I need my brother. Now, as a disclaimer, I'm telling you, don't try any of this on anyone. Only practice by yourself. Do not hit people. Blah, blah, blah. There are actually official places you can go where you can actually fight. I've been to them. They're actually really fun. But there's no harm in grabbing a stick. Or if you go to a tool store or something, you can actually buy, they don't call them walking sticks, but like poles for shovels and stuff like that, which are a little bit too heavy for my taste, but some people find them really nice. You can always get them in different heights, and if they're too big or too small, you take a saw to them and you make them smaller. Well, if they're small, you don't want to make them smaller, but if they're too big, you can make them smaller. Other than that, that's all I have to teach you, and tell me what you think. Leave some comments down below. Thanks.